few weeks ago, I was discussing this message with one of the Protestant pastors here in town. He's a friend of mine. Some of you might know him, Pastor Anderson, wonderful guy. And he said, there are so many different theories as to what Jesus was writing on the ground. And I said, I remember the oldest theory I heard was that these highly placed individuals condemning this woman, they weren't so pure as the driven snow themselves. And I think he began to write down some of their sins. Now, let's take an example of what this would be like. You've heard of Russiagate, haven't you? Okay. Russiagate! Collusion with the Russians. I remember Jesus was 33. He couldn't, Henry, you might have to help me. He took his finger and he wrote, Hunter Biden's laptop. You've heard of Stormy Daniels, haven't you? Certainly, she had quite a rap sheet on her. Not exactly ready to go into the convent, let's put it that way. I think what Jesus did is Henry, get ready again, got down, and he wrote, Juanita Broderick. And guys standing around, I guess some of them must have gotten the message. They were not lily white either. A couple of years ago, I remember reading in the Naples Daily News about a woman who was picked up on the charge of prostitution. Not too far away from where Planned Parenthood is, on Goodlet Frank and Creech. They brought this poor soul before a judge. The judge said to her, why were you soliciting men? And she looked at him and she said, because I can't pay my rent and I have 3 kids. Are you aware that there are a number of sexually oriented businesses in our community? I think they call them some kind of a parlor or spa. You've heard that oftentimes these parlors, that they are staffed by sex slaves. And yet, they proliferate, don't they? One after the other. I wonder who can afford that kind of relaxation. Is it the poor soul who's working every week to get by from paycheck to paycheck? Or are there people with respectable reputations? Or perhaps people in high places? Remember, I'm sure you do, the owner of the New England Patriots. You condemn this woman just because you have a few bucks and can hire a good lawyer? You're going to pick her up for prostitution? He got out of there too. He ran away too. Ran out of there like a dog with his tail down. But could be any one of us. Could be any one of us. Oftentimes I thought to myself, if I could get away with it, would I? Yeah, I think most of us would try to get away with a lot of things that we condemn other people for. I'll tell you another little story. Many, many years ago, I worked in the Chancery office in New Jersey. And we got all kinds of letters about priests. I couldn't believe some of the stuff that was coming in. Let me tell you, some people are absolutely nuts. Some are very, very mean. And some are extremely judgmental. So if you get those crazy letters, you could look at it and say, nah, this is not this guy. If it's signed, you got to make some kind of a response to the letter. But if you get a number of letters about the same priest, complaining about the same thing, you have to look into that. So the bishop says to me, he says, look, Mike, if I call him in, it's really, a heavy-handed thing to do. He's going to, feel like I'm picking on him, or I don't want to embarrass him either. So why don't you? That's when I thought I was on my way up to the top, Let me tell you what the letters are about. Father so-and-so has been hitting every bar in town. I must have received the bishop received about maybe 12, 13 letters that he's hitting every bar in town. And of course, many of them wrote, we're concerned about him. Some, it's a disgrace that he's hitting every bar in town. And some, you see, you priests all have drinking problems. I called the priest in. I said to him, a bunch of letters here that, you're hitting every bar in town. And believe me, there were a lot of bars in that town. It was a little town called Gloucester, New Jersey, right over the Walt Whitman Bridge. So I said, is something going on? Is there a problem? He said, no. He said, I'm trying to sell chances for the parish school. Okay. What's the message here tonight? Okay. First case with Hunter Biden's laptop and Russiagate. We talk about Stormy Daniels, or Monica Lewinsky, or whoever you want, all right? Juanita Broderick. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. That's the first lesson. The second one is this: you have all of these self-righteous people condemning this woman. She's caught in adultery, that poor soul trying to pay her rent for her kids, caught in the city of Naples. And yet we have all of these pleasure parlors all around town. Don't spit in the air. It'll come right back down and hit you in the face. Okay? Last one. This poor priest being accused of everything in creation. Do not judge, lest you be judged. Do not judge, lest you be judged. Remember what I'm telling you now. As I said, many of us would do the same things that they are accused of in the stories I've told you. Maybe we haven't had the opportunity. Maybe we don't have the money. Maybe we're afraid. I hope for some of us it might be God's grace. But the bottom line with all of this, be merciful as your heavenly Father is merciful. And there, for the grace of God, oh I. God love you.